Mr. Bigler, the next question starts with you, and that is, what is your view on using incentives for future growth in Sheboygan Falls, specifically revolving loan funds, community development grants, and TIFs?
Could you just repeat that? I missed that one.
Certainly. What is your view on using incentives for future growth in Sheboygan Falls, specifically revolving loan funds, community development grants, and TIFs?
Okay. TIF districts, we're already doing that out in the industrial park with incentives out there. Each lot in the industrial, each acre in the industrial park costs about $100,000 to buy it, develop it, and that doesn't include interest. We have 52 acres out there, which is pretty much got a creek running through it, detention ponds, and wet areas. Some of those lots may be hard to sell. There are some really nice ones. So I think some of the incentives there, we've done a lot. We're giving incentives to people that want to build out there. We're going to have to do that if we want to fill it up. That also, a lot of people think about employment that these businesses bring in. That will. But the other thing that helps is we could sell those, I think. We have one of the cheapest electric rates in the state for not only residential. I think there's only 5 residential places that are cheaper than Falls. And I think we've got to push some of that for these industries. And the more industry we get in, that's going to help stabilize our electric rates. As far as incentives in other areas, I think I may have addressed that a little bit earlier, where we get some of this economic development plan going for downtown, the rural economic development. And maybe we got to come up with, be creative and come up with something else. At this point in time, I'll be honest, I'm not 100% sure what that would be, but I'd certainly look at that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Mayor, your view on incentives for growth?
Yeah, first of all, the revolving loan fund is something very important. And I want to thank Paul Coupland for continuing to bring that to my attention, because I was always told by people up in City Hall that we couldn't do a revolving, if we did a revolving loan fund, we couldn't also use the counties. Well, it turns out because we're using a different pot of money through the rural utilities, we can have our own revolving loan fund and our businesses have access to the county. Once I found out that what I thought was true wasn't true, it was a no-brainer to start the revolving loan fund process. And we're far along in that process. I believe the nonprofit will pay back that loan far before 10 years are up, so it's not going to be a 10-year window to turn that around. It's going to be quicker than that. They understand this is a help to them, and they understand they're helping us. So we've got that working for us. As far as incentives, you know, it's tricky. We live in a new world where you have Plymouth, Sheboygan, Oostburg, and Elkhart Lake. They're all being very aggressive. We need to match their aggressiveness, and we need to be scrappier and make sure we're protecting our home court. And exactly what we did with Metallic 2. We gave them a fair offer. They didn't even look anywhere else. Same thing with Bob Shetler at Durachel. We gave him a fair offer. He didn't look anywhere else. I can tell you, 18,000 square foot buildings and 67,000 square foot buildings would be valued by any of the other players I mentioned in Sheboygan County. The other thing we have to keep in mind is that companies can and do move, even though you think they're a Sheboygan Falls company or tied to this community. Think of Manitowoc Company. Their headquarters are moving to Milwaukee. They're named after Manitowoc. They're going to put their headquarters in Milwaukee. That's why it's so important to make sure you're playing good defense and offense around your own businesses and continue to grow and incentivize that growth. And I'm very excited at what we accomplished in the last year and a half since Chad Tempest became city administrator.
Thank you. And Mayor Meyer, this, you have the first shot at this next question. Over the last year, the school district and city have taken steps to grow their relationship, including ongoing communication, the addition of a seat on the Economic Development Committee, and joint meetings on topics that impact both entities. As mayor, how do you see continuing to develop a strong relationship with the school district?
Well, I think communication is the first key. For example, I'm in Kiwanis, the school district is in Kiwanis, so I see school district personnel on a weekly basis at those meetings. I volunteer for them at the tree nursery. side by side with Mary Blau planting trees. See him at the pig roast, selling tickets, selling raffle tickets with me, doing things like that. So that's an important part of the bonding. The other thing is we can't do what was done years ago. When the elementary school was built, there was someone up in City Hall that didn't like that school. So he put roadblocks after roadblocks in their way. I talked to our city attorney and I said, why were you being so difficult then? He said, because that's what the orders he was getting from City Hall. So we need to make sure that we do what we did with the middle school. We made it easy. We worked with the school. We made their approval process easy. We didn't put onerous, burdensome things in their place. And we made it very easy to work with. And I'm sure anyone on the school board or administration would tell you that exact same thing. The other thing we have to remember is that we need to communicate to the kids in the school. We need to come to school and be part of what the kids are doing in all three schools, because they're our future. And what they're doing at the high school is extremely exciting. What I see my grandkids doing at the elementary school and going in for special programs like my granddaughter does, that's exciting stuff. We have to leverage that. That's another one of our competitive advantages. We have a great school district. And I love this high school, as I said before. I have very fond memories of this high school. Came back here on a number of times, and I'm just very blessed that back in 1982, they said, yeah, we don't have a problem with our first blind student coming to high school here. So again, we just need to make sure we keep that Falcon spirit alive and what makes Sheboygan Falls special, and I intend to continue to do that.
Thank you. Mr. Bigler, your view on the relationship between the school district and city.
Okay. Being on the school board, I think the relationship is getting better all the time. It's something that I strive for on the school board is what can we do together? Are there things that the city might have some expertise in that could help the school, and things that the school has expertise in that could help the city? Would that mean maybe equipment, maybe an employee that can fix something that we can't, helping us with possibly electronics or technology? You got a ton of kids up here that probably know a heck of a lot more than I do about computers. And there's no reason we can't utilize those. On the library board, I think we've worked real closely with the school as far as setting up the summer reading programs, working with other entities at school with helping the kids in reading and getting things for the teachers that need it. And the big deal there is, my thought is, if we can get the kids reading, we're going to help them a lot. So that's another area, one department of the city, the library, working with the school. I know they've met several times. Keeping that going, but the other one too is there's a lot we could do together. Personnel is just the idea to sit down and get that together and find out where are our common areas that maybe we could help each other. Or maybe we have to hire an employee and share them between us. That might be another option. So those are areas that I would look to try to help save some dollars here. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Bigler, this next question starts with you. When Joel Tauschek retired, the city council appointed our first city administrator. What are your thoughts on the creation of the city administrator position?
I think it's great. He's jumping in, getting it done. As I understand, Joel ran kind of a dual position there. The city administrator can oversee everything. It's a great way to communicate with your department heads and employees. You got one person kind of overseeing everything. That's the go-to person. That's the person that has all the answers. Excuse me, Shad, but if you're out there, he should have all the answers, or at least knows where to get them. And that's why I think that's important, to have a city administrator, somebody that's on top of it and can do it. I'm not at all opposed to having Shad. I think if let Shad go, he's going to shine like a star, and he'll do a good job for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Meyer?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Certainly. When Joel Tauschek retired, the city council appointed our first city administrator. What are your thoughts on the creation of the city administrator position?
First, I think hiring Shad Tempest is a highlight of this term as mayor. Shad comes from the private sector, he's a businessman, and I like that. I think we need to continue to make the public sector run like the private sector as much as possible. Shad knows all the builders in the area. He knows a ton of people. That's been very helpful in our current economic development trend in the last year and a half. City administrator has a greater role in that everyone reports to the city administrator. Shad does a great job handling personnel issues, and, you know, Shad won't be a rising star. Shad is a rising star. He is a bright star. The most important thing that Shad and I, when we work together, is we're really on the same page when it comes to economic development. One's not pulling the rope this way, and one's not pulling the rope the other way. We're all pulling in the same direction. And then importantly, Al Meyer chairs economic development, the rest of the council, they're also helping pull the rope in the same direction. The whole team is working in the same direction. If you go back and look at the record, you'll notice that the different development agreements we've done, the TIF districts we've done, the amendment we're doing right now, the creation of a new district, all receive unanimous approval at the council level, the plan commission level, and that's important. When a team leader can bring everyone together and really go through a whole discussion, get everyone on the same page, that's teamwork and that's synergy. And that's what's occurred since we've created our first city administrator. And this is not a knock on Joel Tauscher. He was doing dual roles. He was director of city service, so besides the fire and police, everyone reported to him. But he had a lot on his plate. We've broken that position up a little bit. Now, we haven't added another employee up in City Hall, so really, the same amount of work exists, we've just distributed the duties around more. But I think this is an incredibly important position that will continue to make dividends far, far into the future. Thank you.